Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. We're a couple days after the season finale of Only Murders in the Building. And yeah, we had to stir on this one because of all the twists and all the turns. I'm here with my good buddy Jeffrey Gordon. We're going to talk about this series and this season as a whole. Jeff, man, how's it going, man?
Doing good, buddy. Yeah, I'm happy we're finally talking about this show because this has been a show we've talked about a lot in the group chat the past 2 years. So we're getting into it, and this is a very crazy season with a very crazy twist. So I'm excited to dig in for sure.
Oh, like you said, we've been talking about this show in our group chats for, like you said, for almost 2 years now. Two seasons have gone by. Gerald was actually the one who was really had to show up, so we really had to check it out. And I binged the first season after it aired in like a weekend. And this one, my girlfriend and I, we decided to let's watch it week by week. And oh boy, if we had binged that one, our minds would have been blown. But they really did a great job building on season one and going into season.
Yeah, for sure. Like they did such a good job with this second season that I completely forgot who the killer was in the first season. That's how crazy it was, and I mean, it's the cast is fantastic. It's like everybody we grew up with: Steve Martin and Martin Short, and then you got Selena Gomez in there for the millennials. So it has all its bases covered, and then you got Tina Fey in there as a supporting character, Michael Rappaport. The cast is stacked with like comedic superstars, and that's what I really like about this show too.
And you touched on the cast, like they, whoever's the casting director for this show, they have done a great job. Like you said, there's no slouches. Everybody does well. And I think it starts from the stars, from the Steve Martins, the Martin Shorts, and then even Selena Gomez. Like they set the bar and everybody comes in and plays their role and does a great job. There is no one person on this series where you say, wow, they're a little lacking. Whether it's the the supporting actors, actresses, they all brought their A game in this series, and that's probably one of my favorite aspects of this. Just like you, just one of my favorite aspects of the series. And I know we're going to touch on more of what our favorite is, but we'll just start right there when it comes to recapping season two with the finale. We find out who did it, and we were just talking before. If you thought that you were surprised, if you thought you knew who did it, you're lying because the writers and everybody did a great job of hiding who was the actual killer this time.
Yeah, I did not think that Cinda Canning's assistant would be the killer, and we're in full spoilers now. I'm sorry, but we're in it, and they did such a good job of hiding it, like you said, Eric, that I thought it was everybody throughout the season. I thought it was Carla Delevingne's character for the longest time, and then you had that twist where she stabs or supposedly stabs Charles Hayden Savage, Steve Martin's character, and you think he dies. And I'm like, did they just really kill Steve Martin? I was shocked for about 5 minutes. But yeah, to have that reveal in there is shows just how good the writing is because I never guessed it would have been her.
Oh, me either. And I didn't even think it was Cara Delevingne's character. I think her name was Alice, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, I never thought it was her. I just thought that she would be like a snitch. So it's like I never expected it to be her. I always thought it was going to be Detective Krebs and Michael Rappaport's character because he was just a sleazeball like detective that you always see in like these type of shows. Um, I first thought it was him. Then I thought it was Ted Demas's son because they wanted to get back at them um, for the events that happened in season one, but then that was dispelled in the earlier in the season. So then I was sticking to my guns that it was Krebs, and then especially the penultimate episode where we saw the glitter on him, I was like, okay, it's him. But then we should have just thought like it's never the obvious choice, and it was great to see them use Cinda Canning's assistant as the murderer because I that was something that I never thought.
Yeah, and her backstory is very interesting too because she was a missing girl in Oklahoma and essentially framed the mayor of the town she was from for murder, and she disappears, becomes Cinda Canning's assistant, and it's like this whole web of lies. It's like a Netflix documentary series, honestly, where the twists just keep coming. So they did some episodes earlier in the season where they established her a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, what's the deal with her? Like, why are they spending a little bit of time with her? And then you find out, yeah, it's pretty crazy because the reveal and how they do it is a murder reveal party, like a gender reveal party. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And yeah, they tie everything in. I thought it was Demas for a while there as well, just because he ends up being Oliver's son's real dad, and I could see that. Honestly, I thought Oliver could have been the killer at one point. It's like a modern day uh, murder mystery. It's that which is all the rage now with Knives Out, and then you have like the murder on the Nile or whatever that movie was. So all this stuff is in right now.
And it's just like you said, like we the show does a good job of making you think everybody is could be it because the way they spend time with the characters, with the way they spend time with the supporting ones, especially like they dedicate episodes to them. There was one episode about Krebs, like you said. Let me look up her name before I say something wrong. Poppy White. There was an episode about her, the Cinda Canning's assistant. There, so it gives you it makes you think that okay, all of these people could have done it. And like you said, um, this show does a great take on the who done it uh, genre and culture. Like I have yet to see Knives Out, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But it's just like this show also doesn't take itself too seriously, so you're always finding yourself laughing because again, that goes back to the cast, it goes back to the writing, it goes back to everybody, and it's just like there's also little parts in it where they make fun of themselves, so they're not too serious. Like where they talk about in one of the final episodes where Krebs is talking about, oh, your podcast stinks. Like our podcast is great. It's like we're the OG podcast. And honestly, that's like the culture that we go through now. Like we like podcasting is big ever since the pandemic. And now it's just like we wonder what our favorite podcasts are. Those are people who might be fans of one prior to the pandemic, prior to when everybody got hip, whether it's you like Joe Rogan, whether you like a sports podcast, whether you like X, Y, and Z. This show does a good job at making fun of that as well. And everybody who's just like, I was an OG fan, I listened to this. Oh, you're like we said, your podcast thinks so. This is probably one of my favorite shows of the last 2 years, and it's just little things like that that make it that way.
Yeah, I love the meta aspect of it. Like Cinda Canning's podcast called "Only Murderers in the Building." That's how meta it is, and I love all the Brazos stuff too because they reboot Brazos, but because Charles Hayden Savage is under investigation, they give him dementia so they could kill him off at any time. It's so funny. There's just all these little things in there that really make it shine. And I love Martin Short as Oliver Putnam, and he's like obsessed with dips. Like
Yeah.
dips are his favorite food, and it's just for a kid that grew up in the '90s, man. Like seeing these two guys getting this late career resurgence is just so great to see.
Yeah, speaking about Charles Hayden Savage, especially what he said, yeah, we're gonna give him dementia, but then when he gets popular, like, oh, your dementia went away. We're gonna. I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
I don't think dementia could go away. Like, hold up, and
your dementia's in remission.
I'm just like, wait a minute, but yeah. So again, it's just about that, like things about that show, especially you would think somebody with Selena Gomez is a superstar. you would think also that like, oh, with actors like Martin Short and Steve Martin, um, she might be outshined, but she is right there with them. Like she does her thing. Um, like I had never been, I guess like into Selena Gomez as that. Like I know she was in Wizards of the Waverly Place and stuff, and she's a pop star and everything. But I was just like, oh, Selena Gomez is cool. But here I'm like, oh, she really does her thing next to these guys, and like she plays Mabel to a T, of that millennial of like, oh, who cares, but also deals with her own issues and faces them head on and does her thing and finds her outlets. And like, I give Selena Gomez her props because like she's also one of the main reasons why this show works so well.
Yeah, she's great. She has great chemistry with those two other main cast members, and yeah, like I remember her on Wizards of Waverly Place, and then I never got into her pop music really, and I haven't really seen her in anything except for like maybe Disney Channel stuff. But her acting is top notch, especially like earlier in the season when she's blamed for Bunny's murder, and they're calling her Bloody Mabel, and you just kind of see her kind of break down and like find comfort with Alice, with Carla Delevingne's character, and it's just like the emotional connection between those two characters I thought was great as well, because very believable, and you can tell that they care about each other, which makes like the twist towards the end of the season where she's kind of double timing Mabel and doing like an art installation against her. It makes her like a very complex character, and I really like that reveal as well.
And what was great about the finale again, just the little steps, and Mabel was a major part in figuring it out because she was the one that actually put two and two together when it came to what what Bunny was saying the night she was stabbed when she was saying 14 Savage, and she was able to connect that to Poppy's order and got the call from the detective, and she was really the real detective of the series. Again, everything, especially in the beginning where she was getting framed for the murder, so it only seemed right that she figured everything out and had Charles and Oliver to help her along the way. We really saw growth in Mabel and her character. She found a partner. Um, yeah, that those all those things help make this series and this season successful. When it comes to your favorite moments of the series, what would you say yours probably is, Jeff?
Honestly, I liked the episode where Mabel is getting chased by who ends up becoming Michael Rappaport's character, the glitter guy. And it's in that abandoned amusement park, and she's hiding in the locker. It reminded me of like Scream or something. It was pretty scary, actually, how they set it up. So the chase sequences, and then the other chase sequence with Charles's stepdaughter in the hidden hallways of the Arcania, I thought was pretty great too. I like the horror aspects of this season a lot. I thought they did a good job with making it much scarier than season one.
Yeah, and honestly, I think my favorite is just I don't know. I really like I don't think I've ever liked shows with the characters as much as they have here, whether it's the guy with the cat who eventually finds someone, or learning about the others that live in the Arcanium. I would have liked to see more of the new boss who's taken over. She had the I gotta look up the I gotta look at the cast, but
Yeah,
she had the baby, and I thought that she was going to be like
I
one of
thought
those.
she was the killer.
Yeah, like I also thought she was going to be one of those like shrewd landlords, but then you saw a softer side when she had the doorman with her, when they had the blackout. I thought I liked all the fanboys of the Only Murders in the Building podcast. They had that one. I want to say I don't think he was a professor, but they had the older gentleman who um, who had his slasher theories, which again is a nod back to podcast culture where everybody has a theory similar to what we're doing right now. It's just like I like that they were able to do that, and I like that it didn't seem like no character didn't have a part. So I felt like all the characters were there and they all had a purpose, no matter how big or how small their roles were. Whether it's meeting Charles's daughter, she played a major role. The detectives, whether they were good or crooked, Cinda Canning and Poppy, like everybody played a major role in it, and I think those that if I know I'm copping out when I say I don't have a favorite moment, but if there were, it would be at like just seeing the development and the importance of all the characters.
Yeah, they do a good job of tying all these characters together, and they even bring back like big characters from season one. You do Amy Ryan's character, who ended up being the killer in season one,
Mm.
and Steve Martin visiting her in prison, and their back and forth is hilarious because she's like, "Did we actually break up, or are we still dating?" And he's like, "You know what? Well, you killed somebody and you went to jail, so I think that counts."
Yeah,
All that stuff was hilarious as well.
yeah, and once we get to the finale, this is another thing that I like about them. About the show and the series. They kind of highlight what you can expect, but they don't give you too much. They leave you just enough to say, okay, how can they do it. I love the cliffhangers that they leave on. In season one, the end, that's when we found Bunny being murdered and Mabel standing over her body. And we're just like, wait a minute, did she do this again? And then in the end of season two, we get a flash forward to a year later at a play that Oliver is directing, and we meet Paul Rudd's a character played by Paul Rudd, who we now know has been cast for season three, and everybody thinks everything is all fine and dandy in New York. They're a year out of solving this murder. They go to this play, and coincidentally, Paul Rudd's character drops dead. So it all with Charles Savage being the last person to see him, like in private, you're thinking, what does Charles know? He says something like, you can't hurt her or something like that. So you don't know who they're talking about, and they do a good job of leaving it on that cliffhanger. So now you're left to wonder what can we expect from season three, and that's something that I definitely enjoy from this series.
Yeah, that time jump really added to how good this finale was. And the Paul Rudd thing was spoiled by Variety at 7 in the morning the day this episode dropped. So thank
Yeah,
you, Variety, for spoiling it for me. But I did not see him dying. I just thought it would be like a little cameo at the end. And then that would set up season three. But now that we know that they're going to be investigating the death of this actor, that just makes me even more excited for season three, because it takes them out of the Arconia and into a different setting, which I think is smart because if another murder happened in that building, I think it's time to move. So it was very smart to switch things up, I think.
and so we're already doing what everybody does. We're already playing into the aspect of podcast culture and guessing and theories. So you know what? We're just gonna dive in feet first. Where do you think they can take season three?
I think a bigger scope, because you have an actor like Paul Rudd, you have everything built around this mystery, and you can bring in, different actors on Broadway. Uh, like the world is kind of at their fingertips at this point. They can go very big, and only murders in the building in the realm of this show is a very successful podcast, I think, in New York. But I think now this is what's going to make them like a worldwide sensation, is uh, the investigation into an actor's murder. So I think that's where season three would go.
And when you look at this, and I think it's kind of important that they do something like this because, like you said, you can only solve so many murders in a building where one the viewers could probably get stale with it. You've solved two. Now it's time to take it outside of those walls and that building because, yeah, like you said, it's a grand scope of things to go out and explore. And I completely agree. This could actually elevate them, and it also helps with the storytelling aspect too because you don't know how long this series could run for. Whether people get tired of it, whether it doesn't have the same buzz. So taking it out of the building would help uh, storytelling aspects and give them vast options of where to go. I thought when we actually thought Charles Savage had been stabbed, I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
they're really going for this." But then, lo and behold, we found out that it was just a ploy just to find to get Poppy to admit what she did and figure out that it was her as the murderer. So I think like they're not afraid to open uh, the floodgates of their storytelling imagination. So I'm looking forward to season three.
Yeah, for sure. And I read in interviews that Steve Martin said that this will be his last acting role ever. It's however long this series runs is going to be is how long he's going to stay in the acting game. So I hope we get maybe 2 or 3 good seasons out of this series after this season, and I think like 4 or 5 seasons would be a great run for this show.
Oh yeah, for sure, and especially like we said, like you get people like Cara Delvine, you get all these actors like Selena Gomez is an A-lister. You get um hey, you said Amy Ryan, right? She's
Yeah,
a yeah. You get all these people invested in this show, so there's a finite amount of time that you can do this. So I think they're capitalizing on it at the right time. I'm looking forward to season three. Like this has been one of my favorite shows in the last couple of years. Any final thoughts on Only Murders in the Building, this season finale, this series as a whole?
just keep it going, keep cooking up those surprises, man. I don't see them coming. I love mysteries. I love this show, and yeah, I'm excited to see what season 3 holds.
Yeah, me too. And we're also excited to continue providing content for box office quarterbacks. So be on the lookout for our next episodes here. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We will see you and talk to you a little later.